Hello student of class 10. Our chapter is life process, and today we are going to discuss about the respiratory system of human being. I already explained you about the internal respiration and external respiration. Internal respiration takes place inside the cell, and external respiration takes place on lungs. Internal respiration is also called cellular respiration, and external respiration is also called breathing. So today we will know about the respiratory system of human being and the different organ involved in respiratory system. So you can see the diagram. In this diagram you can see the nasal passage which allow the air to pass through these passes, and just beneath of this you can see the mouth cavity which allow to pass the food particles, and you can see the pharynx. Pharynx is the place or is the region where the air particles separate from this junction, and after that the food will go to the food pipe and wind will go through the windpipe. Since it is the respiratory system diagram, so food pipe diagram is not given here. You can see the windpipe. After passing the pharynx, the wind will go through the windpipes, and that is called trachea. Just above the trachea you can see larynx, which is also called the sound box. The different kind of sound we can create with the help of larynx. After this we'll go to the lungs. You can see the trachea has divided into two main branches, and both the main branch is going to the two lungs. One is going to the left lung, another one is going into the right lungs. Within the lungs, the passage divides into smaller and smaller tubes, which finally terminates in balloon-like structure, or you can say loop-like structure, or you can say the bag-like structure, which is called alveoli. Alveoli is very important, which provide a surface area. The exchange of gases can take place. The walls of the alveoli contain an extensive network of blood vessels. As we have seen in our earlier classes, when we breathe in, our ribs lift and our diaphragm flatten, and the chest cavity becomes larger as a result. Student, you can see is just end of the lungs is a muscular like border which separating lungs from the other organ, and lungs, since it is very sensitive and flexible, so it should be protect, and our lungs protecting by the rib cage, where you can see the many bone giving a structure to support from the environment, external environment, from the surrounding environment, safe, and that is called rib cage. And within the rib cage, the region where lungs has placed, that is called the chest cavity. So we already learned in our earlier classes that when we breathe in, our ribs lift, our diaphragm flatten, and the chest cavity becomes larger. As a result, because of these, air is sucked into the lungs and fills the expanded alveoli. The blood brings carbon dioxide from the rest of the body, we know, and that is released into the different cell by the process of aerobic respiration. Then oxygen also in the elevator air is taken up by the blood into the elevator blood vessel, to be transported to the all cells in the body. During the breathing cycle, when air is taken in and let out, the lungs always contain a residual volume of air so that there is sufficient time for oxygen to be absorbed and for the carbon dioxide to be released. When the body size of animal is large, the diffusion pressure alone cannot take care of oxygen delivery to all parts of the body. Students, I already told you diffusion is the process by which air passing into the cell, and osmosis is the process by which water particles pass into the cell. So the diffusion pressure here alone cannot take care of oxygen delivery to all parts of the body. Instead, respiratory pigments take up oxygen from the air in the lungs and carry cells which are deficient in oxygen before releasing it. In human beings, the respiratory pigment is hemoglobin, which has a very high affinity for oxygen. And this pigment is present in the red blood cell. So students, here you can see in our respiratory system, the main organ we can say here lungs. Lungs is the responsible for exchanging of different gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen. Inside the lungs, some loop-like structure or bag-like structure is present at the end of the all small tube, and that is called alveoli. Alveoli have the ability to trap the gases, and you can see here bronchi. Bronchi is the trachea only, but in bronchi is just outside of the rib cage and lungs, and it has a protecting rings of cartilage. But when the bronchi goes inside the lungs into the several network, then in each network no cartilage is present. So rings of cartilage is a substance actually which is present on the bone and which gives the flexibility or smoothness of the bone. So students, till now we have understand that in digestion system our main organ is small intestine and stomach, and in respiratory system our main organ is here lungs, and in our excretory system the main organ is kidney.